Hi everyone, hope everyone's doing well. I wanted to continue talking about the liabilities of whiteness. This one sort of continues on, the one that we just talked about. Whiteness allows us to deny things that are real and extrapolate that to think about on a more personal level, because we could talk about so many ways that we deny things that are real. But how do we deny things that people tell us, that we deny their reality, right? So as white people, as we walk the world, we deny the reality of what's real for people of color, for Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. We hear their stories, if we're lucky enough for them to share that with us, and we deny their truths, we deny their stories, right? They'll share with us about how they've experienced racism in their job. Maybe someone has said something, committed a microaggression, a racial microaggression, and our immediate defense is to deny that has happened. That's not racism, or maybe you just misunderstood, or maybe that's not what they meant. We deny people of color's lived experiences. And we do this so much. And I guess we have our intent, right? Our intent is not to hurt that person. Our intent is not to deny their reality, but we do that anyway. And again, it's sort of a defense mechanism. Maybe it's because as white people, we don't have those experiences. So of course, if I don't have that experience, then you can't have that experience, right? Especially if I don't understand how whiteness works, how white supremacy works, right? If I don't understand how I walk the world differently than a person of color. And I think that that intent, we have to be honest that doesn't matter. It's the impact of how denying another person's lived reality can be so incredibly hurtful and violent, traumatic. And how do you think that is going to affect your relationships with someone across race, right? Someone that shares a different lived experience than you. And again, you can extrapolate some of these liabilities of whiteness to how we show up in the world with other identities, right? Maybe as a man, you've denied the reality of a woman, right? Because you don't live that experience. You don't walk the world that way. And if a woman shares with you that something specifically happened to her that was rooted in sexism or misogyny, that your immediate defense is to deny that, right? That you don't see it the right way. See it the way I see it, right? I'm sure that's not what that person meant, right? And so that's something, as I reflect on my liabilities of whiteness, that I realize that is something that I need to work on, something that I need to be cognizant of, to make sure that I don't do that, right? When I listen and hear that someone has experienced something that, again, I may not have experienced, I may not understand, right? But I listen to understand and hold back that sort of initial feeling to deflect, to defend, to get defensive, to deny it, to not do that, right? And to sort of sit with it and ask maybe more questions. Tell me more about how that happened, or what happened to you, and how did that feel, right? And again, if we think to ourselves, maybe our initial reaction is to say, that's probably not what happened. That's probably not real. But what if it is, right? So say to ourselves, you know what? Maybe my initial reaction is to say, that's not real, that didn't happen. But instead, I'm going to sit with, you know what happens if it is? Okay, let's go with the benefit of the doubt that this Black person, Indigenous person, is telling me the truth, and that this is how they experienced that situation. How would I want to be believed? How would I want to be heard? What would I need to hear? Right? So that's the compassion and the empathy that we lose with whiteness, especially across race and trying to engage in conversations with other people who don't walk the world the way that we do. Right? And this is a skill set that we need to build, but we need to be honest about ourselves. And as whiteness, we can't deny things that are real. White supremacy is real. Racism is real, right? So we have to be honest with this about it, right? Maybe it's not something that we can completely understand, right? And I don't know if we ever will understand, right? As we walk the world, it's probably something we will never truly understand. But we want the connections, we want our empathy, we want our compassion to be on full throttle. And it can't be if we don't acknowledge our whiteness and we don't acknowledge that we walk the world differently and really push yourself, strive not to deny other people's reality, because racism is so insidious. You know what? At the end of the day, you might be right that it wasn't rooted in a racist belief or act. But again, racism is so unbelievably, it's just so strong that it immediately, when you're engaging in this trauma and you're engaging in this reality all the time, that it's where you go. It's where you go. And I don't know if that's sort of a defense mechanism too, to think about, wow, is this rooted in racism? Because again, none of us want any of this. And certainly not Black people and Indigenous people. They don't want racism. They don't want to. They don't want it. They want us to get rid of it because we are the ones that created it. So again, that's the work that we need to do every day as white people, is to understand these realities, understand how this oppression works on all of us and how it shapes our trauma and our experiences. And in order to have those connections and in order to have that love for yourself and your humanity back from whiteness and all that is put on you, we have to be honest about this. We really do. And we have to think about how we can build our skill set, build our racial stamina to do better.